Portugal may need as much as 70 billion euros in bailout. This is according to several European officials that Bloomberg has talked to, so this is exclusive to us. For more, we're joined over the phone from London by the Royal Bank of Scotland's chief European economist, Jacques Cailloux. Jacques, thank you very much for joining us. 70 billion euros. Is that about in line with what you expect to get Portugal out of this crisis?
Yes, good morning. I mean, it's broadly in line with our forecast. We think that 80 billion is where we would put a number if we had to estimate it. It's on the basis of the funding needs for the sovereign over the next few years, as well as for the banking sector, and including potentially some recapitalization fund if we follow the same approach that the Irish bailout was built on. So, we think 70 billion, as you mentioned, in your story, is relatively close to our estimate of 80. The question, I think, in the coming weeks is going to be the negotiation and how this pans out in an environment where obviously the political situation is extremely fragile, and we've got a caretaker administration, which might make the negotiation process somewhat more difficult. So I guess that's where the market's going to be focusing on. It's also going to be focusing on what does the 70 billion or 80 billion additional debt on as contingent liability for the sovereign means over the medium term.
Right.
If you're looking at a sovereign which currently have about 80% debt to GDP, you top that up with the amount we're talking about, and then suddenly you arrive in levels of debt in the next 3 years that will be above 100%, 120, 130% debt to GDP. And this is the biggest challenge in the backstops, which is how much debt do you add on sovereigns which already have sizable debt levels.
This is Michael McKee. One question that the market's going to obviously have is, does this bring us any closer to a bailout for Spain? Does Portugal contaminate Spain?
Well, I think it happens in a week where Europe was due to announce, or is due to announce, one of the biggest policy response yet to date as far as the sovereign crisis is concerned, and yet we're seeing what's happening to Portugal. And I think the major flaw that we've got currently to policy response is that there are no tools to protect those countries which might be facing contagion. And I think Portugal is an example. Spain might also suffer from a return of contagion. Spain has held up very well since the beginning of the year and has somewhat decoupled from Portugal. So it's been encouraging to see that the Spanish bond market has held up very well.
Right.
I think at the same time, I think there are still major uncertainties that Spain is facing. And the problem we've got is the toolkit is still not adequate to get rid of this contagion that can come back at any point in time.
Okay. Jacques, thank you. Jacques Cailloux from RBS over in London talking to us about that latest news about Portugal perhaps needing a 70 billion euro bailout. That's exclusive to us, so you're only going to hear this on the network.